The research vessel Pioneer drifted slowly through the emptiness of space, its engines humming quietly as it approached the derelict space station. The structure hung motionless against the backdrop of distant stars, its metal hull scarred and pitted from centuries of cosmic debris. Sam Carter stood at the observation window, his breath fogging the glass as he leaned closer. The abandoned station had been discovered by automated probes 6 months ago, but this was humanity's first manned mission to investigate. Incredible, he whispered. It must be ancient. Behind him, Dr. Olivia Wright adjusted her glasses and checked her tablet. Preliminary scans suggest it's been out here for at least 3,000 years. Maybe longer. Captain Frank Nelson joined them at the window, his weathered face serious. Remember the protocol. We observe, we document, but we touch nothing until we're certain it's safe. Sam nodded, but excitement buzzed through him like electricity. After 15 years in space exploration, this was the discovery he'd dreamed of. The first confirmed alien structure in human history. 4 hours later, Sam floated through the station's main corridor, the beam of his helmet light cutting through the darkness. The air inside was stale but breathable, preserved by systems they didn't yet understand. This architecture is strange, came Olivia's voice through the comms. The proportions seem familiar somehow. Sam pushed himself forward, reaching a large circular chamber. His light revealed walls covered in markings, lines and curves etched into the metal. I found something, he said. Olivia, you should see this. The linguist arrived minutes later, her eyes widening behind her visor. These aren't random scratches, she said, voice hushed with awe. This is writing. Sam watched as she traced her gloved fingers over the symbols. Alien language. Olivia didn't answer immediately. She moved from one section to another, taking photos with her wrist computer. Finally, she turned to Sam, her expression puzzled. This isn't alien, she said. These symbols share structural similarities with Proto-Sumerian writing from Earth. It's impossible, but these look like an early form of human script. Sam frowned. That can't be right. Humans weren't capable of space travel 3,000 years ago. I know what I'm seeing. Olivia insisted. We need to document everything. They spent hours recording the chamber, discovering more writing along with diagrams that appeared to be star charts. In one section, a series of symbols was repeated multiple times. I think these are coordinates, Olivia said, excitement coloring her voice. Back on the Pioneer, they presented their findings to Captain Nelson and the rest of the crew. Chief Science Officer Peter Walsh shook his head dismissively. Primitive scribbles that happen to look like old Earth writing. That's quite a leap, Dr. Wright. They're not just similar, Olivia argued. The syntactic structure is consistent with human language development. These weren't written by aliens. Sam highlighted the coordinates on the main screen. Whatever built that station wanted someone to find something else. These point to a location near the Cygnus sector. Captain Nelson frowned. We're under orders to complete our survey and return to Earth Station. Command will want to send specialized teams. That could take months, Sam protested. We're already here. The Cygnus sector is only 3 days at standard drive. Olivia added. We could at least take preliminary scans. The captain hesitated, looking between their eager faces and the strange symbols on the screen. Finally, he sighed. 3 days. We check it out, we document what we find. And then we head home. No exceptions. As the Pioneer changed course, Sam couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the edge of something momentous. Humanity had always looked to the stars expecting to find others. Instead, they might have found themselves, their own forgotten past waiting in the darkness between stars. What they would discover in the Cygnus sector would change everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. The Pioneer dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a gentle shudder. Sam Carter gripped the edge of the console as the stars reappeared in the view screen. We've reached the coordinates, announced Linda, the ship's navigator. Her fingers danced across the controls as she stabilized their position. Captain Nelson leaned forward. Scan the area. What are we looking at? Sir, I'm detecting a large asteroid field, replied Alan from the sensor station. His voice faltered. But these readings can't be right. Sam moved closer to look at Alan's screen. The sensor display showed hundreds of massive objects clustered together, their shapes too uniform to be natural. Those aren't asteroids, Sam said quietly. Dr. Olivia Wright joined them, her eyes widening as she studied the data. The composition is artificial. Metal alloys, synthetic materials we don't even recognize. Captain Nelson ordered the ship closer, and as they approached, the true nature of the objects became clear. Through the viewports, they could see enormous vessels, dark and dormant, floating silently in the void. Ships, breathed Sam. Warships from the look of them. Olivia's analysis confirmed his observation. Based on their design and materials, they appeared to be the same age as the space station. Perhaps older. Alan's voice was strained as he reported his findings. I count over 300 vessels. The smallest is twice the size of our largest battlecruiser. The largest. He shook his head in disbelief. It's nearly the size of Manhattan Island. That's impossible, said Captain Nelson. Human civilization couldn't build something like this today, let alone 5,000 years ago. Sam studied the closest ship. Its hull was covered in the same markings they'd found at the station. Olivia, can you translate any of this? Before she could answer, Linda called out from her station. Captain, I'm detecting an approaching vessel. It's not from the fleet. A sleek, silver ship appeared at the edge of the asteroid field. It moved with unnatural grace, slowing as it neared the Pioneer. We're receiving a transmission, said Alan. The view screen flickered, revealing a tall, slender being with pale blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. This is Ambassador Kellner of the Galactic Council. Humans of Earth, explain your presence at this historical site. Captain Nelson introduced himself and explained their discovery of the coordinates. The alien's expression showed subtle signs of amusement. How quaint. You believe these vessels are connected to your species. These are ancient progenitor warships, part of the legendary Guardian fleet that vanished 20 millennia ago. We found writing on them that matches early human languages, Olivia stated firmly. Ambassador Kellner's smile didn't reach his eyes. Many primitive species attempt to claim connection to the progenitors. Your civilization barely managed spaceflight a century ago. These ships contain technology you cannot possibly comprehend. 3 more council ships arrived, surrounding the Pioneer. Scientists and officials from various alien species boarded to examine their findings. A reptilian archaeologist named Thrax scoffed at Olivia's translations. Coincidental similarities. Nothing more. But as the day progressed, more evidence emerged. The control interfaces were designed for hands with 5 fingers. The internal atmosphere was perfectly suited for human physiology. And deep within the command ship, they found a sealed chamber containing preserved DNA samples. Sam watched as Olivia compared them to human genetic material. It's a match, she announced. Not identical, but clearly related to modern humans. Ambassador Kellner's dismissive attitude changed to concern. This is impossible. Humans are a young, isolated species. You cannot be connected to the progenitors. The largest council ship directed scanning beams at the ancient fleet. Suddenly, lights flickered across the dormant vessels. Systems that had been silent for millennia began to hum with power. What did you do? Demanded Sam. The ambassador's face paled. Nothing. The ships are activating on their own. All eyes turned to the massive fleet as more and more vessels awakened from their ancient slumber. The ancient ships continued to awaken, lights flickering across their massive hulls like stars coming to life. Sam Carter watched in awe as energy signatures appeared on the Pioneer sensors, growing stronger by the minute. We need to back away, Captain Nelson ordered, his voice tense. Linda, take us to a safe distance. As the Pioneer retreated, Olivia Wright remained hunched over her workstation, frantically comparing the symbols they'd discovered with ancient Earth texts stored in the ship's database. I think I found something, she announced, looking up with excitement in her eyes. These patterns match fragments of writings found in Mesopotamian ruins. They appear to be activation protocols. Ambassador Kellner pushed forward, his blue skin now pale with concern. Impossible. Your species was still using stone tools when these ships were built. The evidence suggests otherwise, Olivia replied firmly. She turned to Sam. The command code seemed to require some form of biological authentication, a genetic key. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Alan's fingers flew across his console. The largest ship is scanning us. A beam of soft blue light swept through the Pioneer, passing harmlessly through its hull. When it reached Sam, it paused, bathing him in its glow for several seconds before disappearing. What just happened? Sam asked, checking himself for any changes. His question was answered moments later when a deep rumble shook the ship. The massive command vessel of the ancient fleet had fully awakened, its engines glowing with power. The communication channel opened automatically. A holographic figure appeared on the bridge, humanoid but with subtle differences, wearing ornate armor unlike anything from Earth's history. When it spoke, the language was strange yet hauntingly familiar. Olivia listened intently, her expression shifting from confusion to shock. "It's addressing you as Commander," she told Sam. "It's speaking a language that shares roots with Proto-Indo-European dialects." "How is that possible?" Sam whispered. The hologram continued its message, gesturing toward the fleet. Olivia translated haltingly. "The Guardians await your command. The enemy returns. The time has come to fulfill your purpose." Ambassador Kellner's composure broke entirely. He turned to his aides, speaking rapidly in his native tongue. The other council representatives appeared equally disturbed, backing away from Sam, as if he had suddenly become dangerous. "What enemy?" Captain Nelson demanded. "What purpose?" One of the reptilian officials stepped forward. "The Council has known of these ships for centuries, but they have never activated for any known species. If they truly respond to human DNA," he left the implication hanging. "You knew about these ships and never told us." Sam's anger rose. "You mockingly dismissed our claims, but you've been studying them all along." "A precaution," Ambassador Kellner replied stiffly. "These vessels are weapons of immense power. We could not risk them falling into the wrong hands." "And now they respond to humans," Olivia said quietly. "What does that make us?" Before anyone could answer, a transmission from Earth interrupted. Admiral John Hayes appeared on screen, his expression grave. "Pioneer, return to Earth immediately. The discovery of this fleet has triggered an emergency Security Council meeting. All data is now classified at the highest level." Captain Nelson acknowledged the order, but Sam noticed the council representatives exchanging worried glances. "Your world's governments will want to claim these vessels," Ambassador Kellner said. "The council cannot allow this. These ships must be quarantined until we understand the implications." "The ships have already chosen," Sam replied, feeling a strange certainty. "They've recognized something in human DNA." As if responding to his words, more of the ancient vessels activated, their systems coming online in a cascading wave of light. On the largest ship, hangar doors began to open, revealing smaller craft within. The hologram spoke again, and this time Sam somehow understood without translation. A warning of something approaching from the darkness between galaxies, a threat that had once nearly destroyed all life. A threat that these ships, and somehow humans themselves, had been created to face. The Pioneer's communication system erupted with urgent messages from across the galaxy. Sam Carter and Olivia Wright stood silently as Captain Nelson conferred with Earth authorities. Ambassador Kellner huddled with the other council representatives, their expressions grim. "Deep space sensors at the galactic rim have detected something," announced Alan from his station. His voice wavered slightly as he read the data. "Massive energy signatures, moving in formation. They've already bypassed 3 council outposts." Olivia pulled up the sensor feeds on her screen. Those patterns match descriptions in the ancient texts we found. It's them. The enemy the fleet was built to fight. Ambassador Kellner approached slowly, his earlier mockery replaced by reluctant respect. "We owe you an explanation," he said. The alien straightened his posture, as if preparing to make a difficult admission. "The Council has monitored these entities for millennia. They emerge from the void between galaxies approximately every 10,000 years. You knew they were coming," Captain Nelson demanded. "We hoped our preparations would be sufficient," replied Kellner. "The Council has built defenses, gathered allies. We believed we could face them without awakening certain aspects of galactic history." Sam felt anger rising inside him. "You hid this threat from Earth, from all of humanity." "Because of what you are," the reptilian official interjected. "The historical records suggest your species was not merely allied with the ancient civilization that built these ships. You were created by them." A hush fell over the bridge. Olivia was the first to break the silence. "Created? As weapons? As warriors?" Kelmar corrected. "Genetically engineered to fight this specific enemy. Your aggression, your adaptability, your unusual mixture of cooperation and competition, these traits were designed." Sam struggled to process this information. "If that's true, why don't we remember? Why was Earth so primitive when you found us?" The hologram from the command ship flickered to life again, displaying images of an ancient war. Massive battles between the fleet and shadowy entities that seemed to bend the fabric of space around them. The final images showed devastated planets and a small group of ships heading toward a distant spiral galaxy. "The Milky Way. A sanctuary," Olivia translated from the accompanying text. "They reset our civilization, started us over on Earth to keep us safe until needed again." The Pioneer shook as something massive passed by. Through the viewports, they watched one of the ancient ships move under its own power, weapons systems charging. "It's acting independently," Allen reported. "Defensive protocols engage." On the main screen, they watched in horror as the first wave of the enemy force entered the system. The ships were unlike anything human minds could easily comprehend. Part organic, part energy, with structures that seemed to fold through dimensions that shouldn't exist. "The Void Harvesters," Kelmar whispered. "They consume all living energy they encounter." The ancient warship fired, its weapons tearing through one of the alien vessels. The enemy responded with crushing force, but the old ship's shields held. "Earth needs to know everything," Sam insisted, turning to Kellner. "No more secrets." The ambassador nodded reluctantly. "The Council will share what we know, but it may not be enough. These ships, your ships, were the only effective defense last time." Captain Nelson received new orders from Earth Command. The message was brief but clear. Humanity was mobilizing. Every available ship was being prepared for battle. Sam felt a strange connection to the ancient fleet, as if something dormant in his DNA was awakening. The hologram turned toward him expectantly. "They're waiting for instructions," Olivia said quietly. "From you, Sam." "I'm not a military commander," he protested. "I'm a researcher." "Perhaps that was true yesterday," Kellner replied. "But today, you may be the key to saving us all." As they watched, more enemy ships appeared at the edge of the system. The ancient fleet continued to activate, ship by ship, weapons charging, engines glowing with power. Humanity stood at a crossroads, to embrace their forgotten warrior heritage or face extinction. The first shots of a war 10,000 years in the making had been fired. The emergency meeting of Earth's Security Council stretched into its third hour. On screens around the chamber, representatives from every major nation argued bitterly about the ancient fleet. "These ships respond to human DNA. They belong to Earth," insisted the American delegate, pounding his fist on the table. "No single nation can claim such power," countered his Chinese counterpart. "This must be a global initiative." Admiral Hayes watched the debate with growing frustration. On a separate screen, Captain Nelson of the Pioneer provided updates from the front lines. The ancient ships continued to activate, but Earth's leadership remained paralyzed by politics. "Sir," said Nelson, his image flickering with interference, "the enemy has attacked Outpost Titan near Saturn. Civilian casualties are high." A hush fell over the council chamber. "How many ships?" asked Hayes. "Just one," Nelson replied grimly. "It destroyed our defenses in minutes." Before anyone could respond, Sam Carter pushed into view beside Nelson. "We can't wait for you to reach consensus. Those people are dying while you argue about who gives orders." "Stand down, Carter," Hayes warned. "Military protocol must be maintained." "With respect, Admiral, we're facing extinction." Sam's voice was steady. "I'm taking one of the ancient ships to Titan. The command vessel's eye has agreed to assist me." "That's a direct violation of orders," Hayes shouted, but Sam had already cut the transmission. On the Pioneer, Olivia Wright hurried after Sam toward the shuttle bay. "This is insane," she said, struggling to keep pace. "You've never piloted anything like this before." "I know," Sam admitted, "but these ships recognize something in me. I have to try." Ambassador Kellner watched from the observation deck as Sam's shuttle approached the massive command ship. "Your friend is either very brave or very foolish," he remarked to Olivia. "Probably both," she replied. Inside the ancient vessel, Sam found himself in a vast control chamber. The ship's systems responded to his presence, interfaces lighting up around him. Knowledge seemed to flow into his mind, not complete, but enough to understand the basics. "Take me to Titan," he commanded, and felt the ship's enormous engines come to life. The journey that would have taken conventional ship's days happened in minutes. The ancient vessel folded space in ways human science had only theorized about. When they emerged near Saturn, the devastation was immediately visible. The outpost was in flames, debris scattered across Saturn's rings. The attacker, a writhing mass of dark energy, turned toward Sam's ship. Without conscious thought, Sam activated the weapon systems. The ship responded instantly, firing beams of concentrated energy that sliced through the enemy's defenses. The battle lasted less than 30 seconds before the attacker retreated, wounded. News of the victory spread rapidly. Video footage captured by surviving outpost personnel showed the ancient ship effortlessly defeating an enemy that had shrugged off Earth's best weapons. Back on Earth, the Security Council watched in silence. "One ship," whispered the Russian delegate. "Just one ship turned the tide." Admiral Hayes straightened in his chair. "We need to crew the fleet. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier we can spare." "Even if we commit all our forces," said the Indian representative, "we lack the experience to operate such advanced technology." "Perhaps not," replied Hayes, looking at footage of Sam standing confidently at the ship's control interface. Carter seemed to know what he was doing. On the Pioneer, Olivia made a breakthrough. "The ship's educational systems are designed for human minds," she explained to Captain Nelson. "They can impart operational knowledge directly." Earth's military forces mobilized with unprecedented unity. Training pods were established on the ancient ships, where human crews received accelerated instruction from the vessels themselves. Sam returned to the fleet as the first volunteer crews arrived. He watched as men and women from every nation stepped aboard the ancient vessels, their expressions changing from awe to understanding as the ships connected with them. "They're remembering," Olivia observed, "not learning. These skills are somehow buried in our DNA." As the first fully crewed ships began space trials, long-range sensors detected the main enemy force approaching. Hundreds of void harvesters moving toward the heart of human space. Earth had weeks, perhaps days, to prepare for the full invasion. The main harvester fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol's system, their twisted forms blotting out stars as they advanced. Earth's conventional defenses, missile platforms, and energy cannons looked tiny and fragile against the approaching darkness. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Command Station, watching tactical displays with grim determination. Status of the ancient fleet. 86 vessels crewed and combat ready, sir, reported his executive officer. The remaining ships are still being prepared. Hayes nodded. It will have to be enough. He opened a channel to all ships. All forces, engage according to plan. Remember your training. Sam Carter sat in the command chair of the flagship, now named Vanguard. Around him, a crew of hastily trained Earth soldiers operated stations designed millennia ago for their ancestors. Despite only weeks of preparation, they moved with growing confidence. Harvester Vanguard has engaged Council forces at Neptune, reported Olivia from the communication station. Their defenses are failing. Through the view screen, Sam watched the Galactic Council ships fighting valiantly but ineffectively. Their weapons barely damaged the harvesters. Sam Carter opened his eyes to blinding white light. His body ached as if he had been torn apart and put back together. Slowly, the world around him came into focus. A medical bay with technology far beyond anything on Earth. "He's awake," said a familiar voice. Olivia Wright leaned over him, relief washing over her tired face. "The Vanguard?" Sam asked, his voice rough. "Severely damaged but salvageable," she replied. "The temporal displacement field protected you from the worst of the impact, but it was still a miracle you survived." Sam tried to sit up, wincing at the pain. "The harvesters?" "Defeated," came another voice. Admiral Hayes stepped into view, his uniform crisp despite the exhaustion evident in his eyes. When their command ship fell, their entire neural network collapsed. The remaining ships retreated beyond the galactic barrier. "The casualties?" Sam dreaded the answer. Hayes' expression grew solemn. "High. We lost 23 of our ancient vessels, and nearly all conventional forces. The Council lost more than half their fleet. 3 Earth colonies suffered direct attacks before we could stop them. Billions saved, millions lost." Sam closed his eyes, feeling the weight of both victory and tragedy. In the weeks that followed, as Sam recovered, representatives from Earth and the Galactic Council gathered on the largest intact ancient ship. The vessel's AI had activated a holographic chamber that displayed recordings from the distant past. The assembled leaders watched in silence as the history of humanity unfolded before them, not beginning on Earth, but among the stars. The images showed advanced human civilizations spanning multiple star systems, working alongside other species to build a peaceful galaxy. Then came the first harvester invasion. Worlds fell. Species vanished. Conventional weapons proved useless. Our ancestors created the Guardian Fleet as a last resort. Sam explained as the recording showed massive shipyards constructing the vessels they now commanded, and they modified themselves, their own DNA, to better operate the technology needed to fight this enemy. "But why hide this history from us?" asked the Earth President. "Why reset human civilization on a single planet?" The final recording answered that question. It showed the desperate last stand of the original fleet commanders. They had won, but at terrible cost. Their genetic modifications had changed them too much, pushing them toward aggression and warfare, even in peacetime. They chose to give humanity a fresh start. Olivia translated from the ancient text. They hoped that by the time we rediscovered our purpose, we would have developed the wisdom to balance our warrior nature with compassion. Ambassador Kilner stepped forward. "The Council owes humanity an apology. We knew fragments of this history, but feared what might happen if humans reclaimed their military heritage." "We had good reason to worry," added another council member. "Look what humans have done even on your single planet." Sam couldn't deny the truth in this. Earth's history was filled with wars and violence. Yet humans had also created art, music, literature, and worked toward peace. "Perhaps that was the point," he suggested. "Our ancestors wanted us to learn to control our warrior nature before we wielded this kind of power again." The Earth President stood. "The ancient fleet will remain under joint Earth Council control. We will establish a defensive alliance to protect all worlds, not just human colonies." In the months that followed, Scientists from across the galaxy studied the ancient technology. Much of it remained beyond their understanding, but each discovery brought new insights into humanity's true origins. Sam and Olivia became key figures in diplomatic relations between Earth and the Council, their first-hand experience with both cultures making them ideal ambassadors. One evening, as they stood on the observation deck of the rebuilt Vanguard, looking out at the stars, Olivia asked the question that had been on both their minds. "Do you think they'll return?" "The harvesters." Sam nodded slowly. "Someday. But next time, we'll be ready, not just as warriors, but as guardians." The final recordings from the ancient fleet had revealed one more truth. Humans hadn't been designed solely as weapons of war. They had been architects of peace, creators of a galactic civilization that had thrived for millennia. As Earth ships and Council vessels patrolled side by side, that ancient dream of unity among the stars began, at last, to be reborn.